Last of Us is one of my favorite games on the PS3. It was the final goodbye to the console from Naughty Dog, as it raised the bar for storytelling, acting, and graphics on old hardware. I even bought the remastered version on PS4 just a year later that comes with the prequel DLC Left Behind. And now, as we are on the verge of the PS5, Naughty Dog's final goodbye to the PS4 is The Last of Us Part 2. And with the recent controversy surrounding the game, does it live up to the original? Part 2 takes place 4 years after the event of the first game. This time it follows Ellie on her path to find and kill the people who were responsible for murdering those close to her. But before I can start talking about the story, I want to say what is good about Last of Us Part 2. The first is the graphics of the game. It is one of the best I've personally seen, and the attention to detail with the character models and the environments makes it PS4's best looking game. And the sound quality and design are the most realistic and cinematic I've ever heard, with an amazing soundtrack being done by Gustavo Santaolalla. And I recommend, if you ever do play this game, that you go ahead and either use a surround sound headphone or a surround sound speaker setup. It feels like listening to a movie in a theater. Animation has also improved from past games that makes characters look a lot more realistic and immersive, and the performance of the actors and cinematography of the scenes are something to be expected from Naughty Dog, with the star-powered cast like Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, Laura Bailey, and Ashley Birch. The Last of Us Part 2 is much more violent and brutal than the first game, and that is why it is satisfying in its moment-to-moment action and set pieces. The gameplay is similar to the first game, with the addition of a jumping button and the option to go prone for hiding in low cover. The AI hasn't seen any major upgrade, but the fact that they react realistically to their fallen friends that you killed by even calling out their individual names like Brad or Dana, it feels like you are killing more than just regular enemies, and would like to see this style be used in more games, as it does immerse me more into the game. You also get to upgrade your character's skills with pills found in the levels and upgrading weapons with scraps. The animation for upgrading weapons are so great in detail, with how character realistically disassembles weapons and then reassembles them with the new upgrade part. There are also certain open level segments similar to those of Uncharted 4 and the spin-off Lost Legacy, where you get to explore the areas and find useful items and collectibles. The Last of Us Part 2 is also one of the most accessible games, with so many options for those who have disabilities or certain motion sicknesses. And now for the story segment of this review. Now I do want to warn everyone that this review will include some minor and major spoilers. So if you want the short version, then the story is bad and weak compared to the first game, and doesn't really live up to the Naughty Dog standards set by their past few games. The storyline and narrative of this game feels out of place and doesn't feel like what a Last of Us sequel should be. This time, you not only play with Ellie, as the marketing of the game suggests, you also play as a whole new character called Abby, who serves to be an antagonist in Ellie's storyline. But we are also supposed to be sorry for Abby, as in the end of the first game, Joel happens to have killed her father, and she is now out for revenge. In Part 2, Joel dies in the first 2 hours of the game, making his death feel like it was just for shock value rather than an emotional goodbye. And how he died made it look like it was spitting in the face to the fans. He acts so trustworthy among strangers when he randomly saved Abby from getting killed by the zombies, compared to his cautious and untrustworthiness towards people in the end of the first game, where he knew that the random person on the bridge was acting weak and teaching Ellie to not trust anyone else. It's not just Joel that had completely changed personality in this game, it's also Ellie, where she now acts way darker and brutal compared to her quirkiness and innocence from the first game. During the story, there are flashbacks with Ellie and Joel, and those moments are the best, and honestly, if Part 2 only consisted of what the flashbacks were about, I would have loved it and personally recommended it to everyone. But unfortunately, with how the ending plays out, it feels like everything you've done past 25 hours of gameplay and story is just gone and discarded. With so much potential for a greater sequel from Part 1, the writer seems to have forgotten what made the first game so special and memorable to his fans. And Part 2 is not a love letter to the fans of Last of Us Part 1. I would also like to mention that the game does not come with a multiplayer mode at all, which made the longevity of the first game strong till this day. Naughty Dog is known for its groundbreaking storytelling and narratives, and to see this game fail at that makes this rating a hard one for me. And with that, I give The Last of Us Part 2 a 6 out of 10, and on the list for one of the most disappointing games of 2020.